before. He knew I'd already missed far too much schoolwork to try to catch up, and besides, I continued to bolt if he forced me to go back. Instead, he leaned back in his chair and considered my options. Finally, he sat forward and rested both his elbows on his mahogany desk. "It's imperative that Elizabeth keeps up with her maths, English and science," he explained, as Mum and Dad nodded long in agreement. "So, I suggest we give her a timetable that works around these subjects. If Elizabeth comes into school to complete these lessons, say, 1 lesson a day, then I would allow her to return home afterwards." My folks didn't seem exactly thrilled with this solution, but if it meant the difference between getting an education or not, they had no choice. "OK," Mum agreed. Initially, I had stuck to the headmaster's plan, but my heart wasn't really in it, and it wasn't very long before I slipped back into my old ways. I'd already had a taste of freedom, and now I craved it. My own space to do whatever I wanted. I couldn't return to school. Not now. Not ever. My behaviour continued unchanged and unchallenged until a year later. With a shocking attendance record behind me, I turned 15. By this time, I was adept at prowling the streets to kill time. No one seemed to care. My parents, who had always taken my education seriously, weren't aware that I was still bunking off, and my teachers' indifference made me despise school even more. The comprehensive school itself was lax, and the teachers adopted a very laid-back approach when dealing with students. They certainly weren't going to miss me. In fact, one less child to teach would have been considered a bit of a blessing. It's a total waste of time. What do I need maths or science for? I thought, as I took the long way home along my usual street of choice. I mulled it over, trying to justify it to myself, but I was a typical teenager, and right then it felt like me against the rest of the world. Mum and Dad worked at a local supermarket, so they would leave at the same time. However, some days their shift patterns would change and give me a small window of opportunity, the chance to nip home late morning or early afternoon. Whenever this happened, I would sit and watch TV for a few hours, sneak back out and retrace my route before pretending to return to our semi-detached council house for the very first time. However, their shifts weren't set in stone and often differed week to week, leaving my days unpredictable. Soon, I seemed to be dodging everyone, the bullies, my parents, and the teachers. My truancy meant that I was always alone, and, as a result, I felt adrift. I didn't realise it then, but this made me extremely vulnerable. One day in autumn 2003, I'd been through the usual motions of trying to kill time and was walking along a small pathway, one I knew like the back of my hand, that eventually rejoined the main road. There was a bus stop up ahead and a small queue of people standing by it. My eyes quickly scanned the blur of faces, but no one looked remotely familiar. Still, I bowed my head. As I passed the queue, I felt a pair of eyes following me. A flash of white cloth billowed out like a freshly laundered sheet on a washing line, catching in my peripheral vision. I noticed it, but I didn't turn around. Instead, I carried on walking. But someone was watching me. I could just sense it. Tilting my face upwards, I scoured the dozens of windows that overlooked me. I'd expected to see someone standing there, monitoring me, but all the windows were empty. Baffled, I shook the thought from my head and pressed further on along the road. A few days later, I retraced my way along the same route through the estate. My steps weaved in and out from the main road like a zigzag stitch, trying to avoid detection. The familiar bus stop was up ahead on the right at the top of a slight hill. There were a few people waiting for the bus, including a woman wearing a white hijab. The wind blew and caught against it, and the hijab billowed out like a small white sail. I didn't tend to see many people wearing traditional Pakistani clothing, so I found the woman fascinating. As I drew near, I averted my eyes and tried to focus on the chewing gum splattered pavement. I counted the grey, white, misshapen splodges on the tarmac for something to do. 5, 6, 7. As I approached, I momentarily glanced up, and the woman in the hijab did something quite unexpected. Her face broke into a large, warm smile, as though she recognised me. Her reaction left me completely stumped.